Okay, top four bracket. Let's see it. So we have Greg Dyer, our number 1 seed with Mono Blue Prison, against Justin Brickman playing 4-color Snow. This is a matchup that we saw earlier, I believe, and it feels like it felt at the time like Mono Blue just had a lot of tools that Snow wasn't really great against.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like Snow is sort of Jundy. It can choose what to beat. And I think most of these Snow decks are not designed with Mono Blue Urza Stompy in mind, you know?
Yeah, I don't imagine most of these decks at all are designed to take that in mind. But yeah, 4-color Snow, I mean, Narcis's going to be a problem. We're going to have removal that, like, there's not really things that we can kill at it, even at parity. Everything we're killing is probably an advantage for Blue Prison.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see how that plays out. And Blue Prison also just fast. And then on the other match, we have Will Krueger playing Temur Delver against Jim Dudek playing 4-color Snow. And this matchup is probably one of the more commonly played matchups in the format these days. And
yeah, I would say this is the iconic matchup that is in Legacy right now. That's not the Rug Delver mirror, right?
Sure. Okay. That is the one we're going to watch. We're going to watch Will Krueger against Jim Dudek, and we do have Jim Dudek's deck ready to go, so let's take a peek at it and see how well he's set up against Will's deck, who we just saw. Now, Will's going to be looking at completely different cards of being import in his own deck for this matchup. His bolts matter, his counters matter less. And for the Snow side, what kind of removal do we have? Ooh, we have a lot.
Yeah, we also have Sweepers, Dead of Winter.
Yeah, and that feels like an important card that not all of the Snow decks we've seen today have had. We do not have Plague Engineer's main deck like we did in some of the versions, and that's probably also in Jim's favor, as they're Death Touch creatures basically in this matchup. They're not the Plague Engineer effect. The -1 and -1 effect is not strong here, I don't believe. This matchup, we have 3 Uros, 3 Okos. If I had to pick, I'm going to pick the Snow side of this.
So I think generally it's commonly believed that Snow has the edge in game 1, then postboard gets a lot harder.
Okay. And we have seen Will do very well with the sideboard cards today. We'll go and switch over to Will's deck, and we'll focus on the sideboard, and we'll find a lot of cards that can come in matchups like this to grind the graveyard, to stop the important cards. And we saw earlier, I don't know if you were watching it already at that point or not, but Colossus can just grind your opponents in dust. It takes a while, but not much gets rid of it.
Yeah, I was suggesting earlier that if Snow decks wanted to beat Colossus, they really do have to adapt. I think playing Hydroblast might be a good start to just try to stop it on the stack, personally. But yeah, Will postboard improves by so much. I believe like 9 of the 15 cards come in, and like basically the deck just transforms its role completely.
Right. I mean, we have Hammer card advantage with Sylvan Library. We have Colossus, which is just overall game advantage. We have Relics, which can kind of trick up the Uro, which is kind of the strong long game card out of the Snow deck. Even if you wanted to, you could bring in. I mean, honestly, you could probably bring in 13 if you had to, because it's everything aside from the explosives. You wouldn't, but like Submerge is not good enough. But
I described Submerge as Slaughter Pact, and I don't think you would want Slaughter Pact in your deck versus the Snow control deck, personally.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a good point. But certainly a lot of tools to work with here. And yeah, we're moving right into the top 4. So thank you guys for watching with us today. We've got 2 rounds left. After this round, while we're getting ready for the finals, we'll give away another entry into next month's Modern event. So stick around if you're interested in that, or if you're just interested in seeing how the Legacy plays out, as we have Will Krueger on the bottom on a mull to 5.
No, it's...
Oh, they're... I'm sorry, I have that wrong, right? I'm seeing the name wrong. Yeah. Oh, it's Jim on the bottom on the mull to 5.
So Jim's on the bottom on a mull to 5. He kept this, and I think this is reasonable for a 5-card hand. You can't be too picky, right, on 5?
Right. Yeah, definitely. And both Will Krueger played in his first Pro Tour this year, the regional Pro Tour that was online. It was his first one ever. And Jim Dudek has also played in one Pro Tour. So we have similarly experienced players, at least at the highest levels, facing off right now. Will Krueger is primarily a modern player, but obviously showing his chops here in Legacy as well today.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Delver sort of rewards players who are overall well-rounded, good players, you know?
Mm-hmm. Sure, that makes sense. Because you're playing, I mean, it's straightforward, but you have all the tools of interaction. You're unlikely to get absolutely blown out by too many things. And so it gives you a lot of chance. And you're not trying to end the game immediately. So it's a deck that makes sense to play if you feel like you're better than your opponent.
And it seems like Will has been better than most of his opponents in this tournament so far.
It does. Not by much last round, but enough to get it done. And that's all it takes. I mean, everyone always says Delver just barely wins, and yeah, that's certainly what we saw.
So what do you think of this play?
Brainstorm with the Delver trigger on the stack? I'm not a huge fan. Depends on, I mean, I guess the pacing of things, maybe it depends on what else you have in your hand, but I don't love it. To be honest, it gets you a couple more damage in, but if 2 damage decides a lot of these games, then okay. But I don't feel confident that it does.
So there's a few ways to think about it. I think one, your opponent has gone to 5, so there's some incentive to get the game over with, right?
Right.
And the second thing to consider is, well, I have all these cantrips in my hand. What's the marginal utility of a third cantrip, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what was going through his mind personally.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so were we able to set up for the next one? We were. So let's do. Yeah, you're definitely right about that. The more cantrips you have in your hand, the less valuable the first one is. I agree with you there.
It looks like Will chose to shuffle off the ponder now. Probably just looking for another threat to end this game, and this looks like a 4/4 trampler to me. I don't know about you.
Well, yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I mean, if it turns into a 3/3 elk non-trampler, that still looks pretty good to me.
That's 6 damage. Then Dead of Winter's not even an out, because you know what it does? It only does -3/-3.
Yeah. This is looking very strong for Oko. Just not quite getting the job done this time.
And the Daze is known as well from Thoughtseize, right?
Oh, okay, so we have Daze and Force Will both known. Oh, good luck.
Yeah.
Mr. Dudek, I hope you plan out your sideboard very well, because this game is getting away from you.
It seems like the game might be frozen because it's stuck at 37.52 for Will.
Okay. You are right. Let's see if our production is in touch with those players and find out what's going on. So come back to us here for a moment while we figure out what's happening. I mean, really, it's only, it's kind of just in the nature of things, tournament competitive play. Things happen. Mm-hmm. We had players play the wrong opponents today, apparently. I don't know what was going on with that. Now we have game freezing. I don't know. I saw this morning in one of the early rounds, I just glanced at the chat, and I don't know if this was true or if this is just a conversation people were having, but there was suggested that the coverage from the last couple rounds of the Mythic Invitational was canceled today because something about blue. Really, that's unfortunate. That's too bad.
It's unfortunate. But speaking of Legacy results this weekend, I saw Brian Cook won the Legacy PTQ and the Legacy Challenge today. And I don't know if you know, just winning one tournament in one weekend is hard enough. Winning back to back is just that's just absurd.
That's really cool. Good for him. I didn't know about yesterday. I didn't know today. But that's a player that anyone that's watching that's a fan of Legacy probably is familiar with Brian Cook. Mm-hmm. He writes a blog about his experiences playing Storm. The Epic Storm, I believe, is the name of the blog. And he posts his videos of his matches, and he keeps notes on his results like no one I've ever seen. His spreadsheets go back years, and he knows how he won every game with which card, whether it was empty or tendrils or something else, what was important, everything. It's beyond belief, and it's cool to see something that pay off for him.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much you know about me. I switch decks all the time because I get bored. I feel like you sort of do the same thing. I've seen you play Enchantress. I've seen you play Food Chain Goblins.
Sure.
For people like us who've played forever and we're not attached to one deck, we do jump around a lot, right?
Yeah, Brian Cook sticks with his guns. Okay, so it sounds like the problem with the match had to do with Discord and the screen share, not actually Magic Online in the match itself. So I think we're going to the match now from the other side, is what it sounds like to me. So here we are, still in the match. You see the Will Krueger still up a game. He's just on the other side now. Okay, that didn't last long. So we'll head back to us. Jarvis, do you have any other insights about Brian Cook's history of playing his Storm deck? I mean, have you faced him any number of times? Relevant games that you remember?
I played him a lot of times. There was one Legacy Showcase where I played him in like round 6, and we were both like 4-1. I won that match, then won versus Test the next round, and then 3-0'd the top 8. So that felt pretty darn good, you know.
That's nice. So let's. So you and I can only think of once that stands out in my head maybe twice that we've played each other. I don't think it's been too many times.
Yeah.
And so something we can talk about while we try and reconstruct what's going on in those matches is because I was thinking of, because my impression the first time I remember playing you was in a Legacy Open, and we played towards maybe the middle of the day. It was the one-day opens. You were playing lands, and I was playing Legend Miracles at the time. I don't know if you remember this or not, but what stood out to me in the match, really what I remember from it, because this was several years ago, was kind of your table demeanor. And I think this is something that, you see different people. Some people are serious, some people are, jokey, pretending to have fun while they're still trying to crush your soul without letting you know. And I remember, and I kind of, like, at the time I was irritated, but I love it, is when I forgot, because I'm dumb, I forgot to pay the upkeep with Tabernacle for whatever creatures I had in play. And so I untapped and drew my card, and you just looked at me and you're like, your creatures are dead. And I was just like, oh. And that really stood out to me because it was just so demoralizing. It wasn't mean or aggressive. It was just demoralizing. And it's just, my opponent just telling me, like, you're really not good enough to stand with me. So just why are you trying? And I was so great. And so I don't know. Maybe we could talk about, like, what do you feel about how you feel about, like, table image as a player? Do you think there's any real advantage to be gained, or is it just kind of your own personality of how you interact with players during a match?
So it's interesting you asked that. I used to play chess as a competitive thing. And in chess, it's very different. You're not actually allowed to talk most of the time. So that's a huge difference in the games, right? Mm-hmm. Because both the players are just focusing, okay, what's going to happen in the game? Who has the clock advantage? That's an enormous thing in chess, because with the presence of a chess clock, IRL, Magic Online can enforce it, but we can't use a chess clock in Paper Magic. So it's a big difference. So a lot of my mannerisms come from that. I don't view it as an advantage. I just view it as it is. When I stream, I'm very different. I'm just like sort of jokey. I'm like, okay, how can I win this game? What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. IRL, I'm not there to entertain people. I'm there to play a match and win it,
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I am not the friendliest person in a match. I don't think of myself as being rude in a match, but I am certainly not friendly until the match is over with. And usually in that case, only if I won. But yeah, and I feel like, that's just something everyone kind of, can, play their own way. But there's definitely a contrast of personalities among all of us playing Magic, and certainly sometimes there are clashes. I know I'm sure you have too. You've been in situations where one player, either in your match or in a match next to you, gets upset at the demeanor of the other person. Yes. Things just kind of slide out of control, and that's certainly a benefit we have on Magic Online. Yep. Is we don't have to deal with that. I guess sometimes we see people posting, like, chat logs where you see someone got out of line during a match on Magic Online, but certainly less of an issue than it is in real life.
So I actually do remember the match I played against you because I remember losing. I was sad, and that was like a month, or it was actually a week after Grand Prix New Jersey, if you remember
Right.
that, the
Was,
Legacy
yeah.
one, where I played Jeskai Digblade because Dig Through Time's a broken card, and why wouldn't you play that card? Went 13-2, and then Kurt's piece, Baltimore Crusher. I'm sure you remember the name.
Mhm.
He offered me his Legacy Lands deck. I'm like, sweet. I will not buy this deck until I'm confirmed it's good. And then I confirmed it was good. Then I bought the rest of the deck.
Okay, cool. So 13-2 that Grand Prix. That was a huge Grand Prix. Was that enough for top 8 or no?
I was 15th because tiebreakers reset on day 2.
Oh,
And day 1 ended at like 11. You remember that one? There were a lot of technical problems.
I don't remember. I don't think I was in the event at the end of day 1, so I don't know how that played out, but I knew it was humongous. All right, we're back in the game. Let us see what's going on. We have progressed. It looks like we're around we're on turn 6. And Will Krueger has a lot of stuff in play.
And a lot of blue cards and forces in hand.
Yes, indeed. Jim Dudek does have 5 cards, so maybe he'll be able to assemble some way to fight back against this onslaught. But anytime Dreadhorde Arcanist is attacking and triggering, that's bad news.
Yeah, so well, also, even if we get Dead of Winter, there's still this Oko in play, right?
Yeah. If we could even resolve it. Yeah, this is what do we need here? We need a Carpet of Flowers to double our mana, so we can play Dead of Winter and Uro to gain extra life. That would mean something. We need to. I was gonna say we need to borrow the Show and Tell deck from our previous opponent and give that a shot.
Okay.
Or apparently we need the system to crash and then the game is prolonged or not ending. Let's see. Was that our problem?
No.
Okay,
no,
everything's okay.
I think he just tabbed out to Discord to look at something.
Okay.
In any case, yeah. So even if you Dead of Winter or this, do you even care? It puts Jim up to 8, but 8 is still less than 10,
right?
Which is how much damage Will is showing, right?
Yeah. No, I agree with you that we don't really care too much. We seemed like it's hard to imagine what we couldn't cover at this point with how good Will's hand is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this. I think one way you could get blown out is if your opponent brainstorms into Decay. Actually, that doesn't even do it, but no, it just by the time we got to that board state, I feel like Will was like over 95% to win, right?
Yeah, he was obviously in firm control. Dreadhorde Arcanist is just so good, and I feel like that's a card that every time I play against it, my opinion of it goes up.
Yeah. When the set was first spoiled, and people were like, "Okay, we can Atarka's command and flashback Atarka's command," and I'm just like, "Isn't this just the Snapcaster Mage Delver decks actually wanted?" And then everyone was like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll just keep playing that forever."
Yeah, no, that card is excellent, and it's cool. It's very good in other formats. I play in the Arena Qualifier weekend this weekend. I played Dreadhorde Arcanist I played Luis Silvato's deck yesterday. It didn't do it particularly well for me because I didn't have much practice with the deck. But the Arcanist in that deck with the historic playable cards is also excellent.
Yeah, I also played the qualifier yesterday. Unfortunately, it didn't go great for me either.
Yeah, I won one match.
Oh, that you're one match better than I was, even though I played like 80+ matches with my deck, so I was kind of disappointed. But
I can see that. That's too bad.
Tournaments are tournaments, right?
Yeah. My best friend lost. He got to 6 wins and then lost, so that was a shame.
Yeah.
But Anyway, so where are we at? Give me an update on. Okay, we're trying to see if the other match is available for us to jump in on. That gets more difficult when there's only one other match in the tournament. So we'll see if they're not done yet. But okay, so we were talking about the Legacy Grand Prix you did very well at 5 or so years ago. do you have in mind, like, if you're, because you've played a lot of formats over a long period of time, but for Legacy specifically, do you have a time period in mind where you enjoyed the format the most?
Is it disingenuous to say when I was winning the most?
No, I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, so the person on ELO project keeps track of like highest win rates over certain seasons. Apparently my GP win rate in Legacy that season was like 86.1% with lands.
So this is the season with that we're talking about, or
no? It was the season right afterwards.
Oh.
I was about to quit Magic actually if I didn't qualify. Then I won Seattle, then top eighted Columbus, and it was just absurd. Like, I feel like even despite Deathrite Shaman being everywhere, the deck was just broken. Lands was broken. Now I don't think it's as broken as it was. Force of Negation has a huge part to do with it, but lots of things. Anyways, so let's get to it.
Okay, so we're in on Justin Brickman's. Apparently, we're piggybacking on his feed again. We had him on earlier today, and his screen share was really blurry, but his stream is working fine. So we just copied and watched from there, which is what we're doing now. So we're in. It's like game 2. Greg Dyer reasonably well set up here, but maybe not with an excess of material.
Yeah, so the question is, do you block the Death Touch Urza, or block the Death Touch Plague Injure with Urza?
Mm-hmm.
So it saves 2 loyalty on Karn, so you can go get Mycosynth Lattice, I guess, is the reason to do that. And I don't know, did people realize this earlier? Mycosynth Lattice turns all of your things into artifacts, which includes the artifacts, lands that become artifacts.
Mm-hmm. Which makes the giganticize.
Yes, the token's always like a 13-13, or I've actually seen it be like 25-25.
Yeah. So, but the Urza is coming down. Okay, I was going to say the Urza is coming down instead, but given how the artifact mana works, it may actually be coming down in tandem with
it. It is. I count 6. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can Emery back Urza's Bauble, so that's 6.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you get probably the Lattice is going to happen this turn. Then you'll have, what can you block with? You can block with Urza to keep the Karn alive, and then that probably just locks up the game, right?
Right. And yeah, Justin looked like he was grimacing there for a moment. I wonder if he was thinking I could at least cantrip off the Veil of Summer off the Urza, but the Karn's preventing that. So
land in hand means you can keep the Emery untapped too and just block with it.
Yeah, well, okay, with having 2 creatures untapped to block, then that's very, very safe.
And we see a follow from Max Plays MTG.
That's funny. For people who don't know, Max Plays MTG is actually our tournament director.
Yeah.
And the guy behind most of the technology that you're seeing on our show. So, yep, as you expected, here is the Emery ring. Oh, no, we thought maybe we didn't have to do it this way.
Yeah, well, you don't have to, but this is also fine. You can leave a construct untapped instead.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's actually better.
Yep. So, we're sort of seeing the structural problems with Snow in this matchup, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just against decks that aren't really dependent on their creatures. I feel like we're having some trouble.
Yeah. And this is not a situation where you can deck your opponent.
No, it is not. Even if the Veil of Summer is definitely not going to cantrip anymore. Even if it could be cast, there's no more green spells or blue spells left. That's funny.
Yeah. It seems like we have died.
Yes, I agree. And it's not going to take too long because that token, as you're pointing out, is going to be gigantic with the Lattice in play.
They're both 13-13s right now.
Yeah, and there is a Plague Engineer, which I guess will trade with one of them.
Yeah, I agree with this trade.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe we could just trump with Urza and then I guess kill Justin would win also. But yeah, it's done regardless. And Greg Dyer wins. So our number 1 seed on Mono Blue Prison, Greg Dyer, is going to face Will Krueger. in the finals. And I don't know if we need to take a break before we get that started or not, but while that gets figured out, I'm going to go ahead and start up a raffle. So if you're watching in the chat, our next event is Modern on, I have this written down, October 4th. So if you would like free entry into our Modern event, at least a chance at it, type Nerd Rage in the chat. While that's going on, Jarvis, we're having Temur Delver versus the Mono Blue Prison. Mono Blue Prison's going first. Anytime you're a Chalice of the Void deck, going first is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's is that enough to feel like the matchups maybe is favored for the Blue Prison side?
So I looked at Will's deck real quick. There are 6 forces, so he'll know to try not to be too exposed. Like, I guess he might keep a hand. Like, you might mulligan once, keep a hand. It might be cool to Chalice, but the hand might be good enough. Besides that you're supposed to keep still. I don't think he's just going to keep like an OK 7 and get blown out by Chalice. I don't think that. I think we've already seen that from him. That he'll be careful enough to not get obliterated like that, right?
Right. Yeah. So in addition to first place today is $400. I believe second is $200. But in addition to the prize money, the winner is going to get free entry and a round 1 bye into our showdown in December. So that's what's on the line for the players. Both of them have already qualified alongside the rest of the top 8 for the next arena qualifier weekend. All 5 trials, this being the first one, the other 4 being alternating modern and standard, have the same prize structure. And for the showdown at the end of the year, you don't have to qualify for it. It's open entry. It's a $2,500 event, although 5 players will start with a bye. And it's actually a full PTQ. The winner of that event will receive an invite into the whatever the following set championship is. So it's good that we've got some interest here among all of you. I'll give it a few more seconds so we're going to go ahead and take an ad break now, and when we come back, we'll give away the entry. So stick around. We'll be right back with the finals of our